Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thanks to the ones joining us digitally today. Welcome also to our invitee for this conference, Thierry Knessler, who's going to be the speaker. He's the co-founder of Twint and ex-CEO from 2014 to 2018. Welcome also to Laurent Mieville, who's going to say a few words in introduction. He's the director of Unitech and the initiator of the Global Entrepreneurship Week here in Geneva. Before I give the word to Laurent, I'd like to talk a bit about Innovation Time, the association organizing this conference. So our main objective is to reinforce the link between the entrepreneurial world and the student world. I'd like to thank the whole team that has been working on the conference, and also to the team, Innovation Time team, who are working on different kind of projects, but who can be present today. Of course, it's a shame, but I think we can guarantee a very quality experience today with all the setup and all the infrastructure put in place. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I leave the word to, just before I give the word to Laurent, I also want to thank our two main partners. First, EFG Startup Support, which is a support organism for startup creation, and also Swiss21.org, which is support for startup and SMEs in the digitalization of their commercial process. Now the stage is for you, Laurent.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, and welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to be here just to give you a few words. These are special times, and we are ready to give you the best content for entrepreneurship and creation of companies. So I'm looking forward for that week. I'm looking forward for that session. Thank you, Innovation Time. You are a great partner to the week. We rely a lot on student associations, and you are doing a great job. So congratulations. And this is the start. I was already there this morning behind my computer because we have to remain at home if possible. And I could see that we had already a nice audience this morning. So I won't spend a lot of time talking. I think you are here to listen to the speaker and to also learn more from Innovation Time. For those of you who would like to join us at 5 today for the ceremony of ouverture, the opening ceremony of the week, please join the live stream at 5 p.m. and we will have also some interesting guests. This said, wish you the best, Sebastian and the whole team. Congratulations, and I'm looking forward to the talk of your guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laurent, for those words. And also thank you for your support through Unitech as well, that has been trusting us since the beginning. We very enjoy collaborating with you and also with the Global Entrepreneurship Week. That's something we really appreciate, and I think we're going to carry on doing that for the following years. Before I give the word to Thierry, I also want to tell to the online audience that you can ask some questions during the conference, and we will take a moment at the end for a Q&A session to answer them. We will try to treat them all, so please don't hesitate. Now the word is for you, Thierry.
Okay, thanks. Yes, hello everybody. On the computers, and also those few persons that are here in the room. I'm very happy to talk to you about Twint, about the challenges, about innovation, and the scale of business. So we're making this part in two parts. The first part is more like the beginning, This was already a couple of years back. We will go back to the year 2014. And the second part is then more the scaling part. That's then more 2016 to 18. So I will start how it all began, but just also in order to get at least a bit into the interaction with you, with the audience, we actually prepared two questions, and the first question will come now. And so I hope, or most probably, you will see the question popping in on your screen. And I would be very interested to know, I mean, it's quite easy, do you use Twint or not? And the second question will have some relation to it, will come later. So please answer that, because this gives me then some good thoughts to speak about. Right, in order when you answer it, and also beside that, I will start to talk about Twint 2014. And so it's always when you do something new, as we did then, because Twint wasn't existing, you always have to look at the landscape. And this was just the payment landscape that you see on the slide. 2014, just quickly on it, we first saw the words of fintech coming up. Today everybody knows what it is. Back then people didn't really know. They knew, okay, that something has to do with technology and financials, new companies, but banks didn't know them. Then we had the new players. Back then it was more like PayPal and not like Apple, but it doesn't really matter. So there were the big technology players coming in from the US. Then we had the word of ecosystems coming up. Also today everybody talks about ecosystems, but back then, 2014, this had more to do with the environmental protection than with economies. And last but not least, we saw back then that technology really takes over in payment. So that was not so strongly before. So this was the environment, and I was back then working at PostFinance. As most of you, who, at least those who live in Switzerland, will know, is one of the biggest payment provider. And so literally we didn't have a payment solution in mobile payment, and we saw all these things coming. So what you can do in that part, when you are in that question of strategy, then it's always two ways to react. I'm sure you know that saying, when the wind of change blow, some people build walls and others build windmills. So I'm quite happy that we back then decided going into the windmill building. So meaning we want to react to the market changes, we want to act, and we want to create something new. So how did it happen then? And this is really, I'm not a big drawer, but this is really the first drawing that is still existing out of the Twint system. So that was really in the beginning in spring of 2014. And we see already a couple of points that are highlighted up there. So this question of account to account, so somehow paying through your mobile, and the money comes from an account and will also go to an account. Today, everybody uses it who uses Twint. For them, it's like normal, but back then it was something that didn't exist, frankly. We also had this idea of creating a network. This also back then didn't exist in that area. And we also thought about this question of value-added services that we had to postpone a bit in the meantime in the system. I will talk about it. Perhaps we wanted a bit too much, but that is coming now. When you see now the applications, you see now those parts coming. So what I can say there, and this is something that I also say with innovation, especially when you go for disruptive innovation, you see it at the bottom. We did that back then with 2 to 3 people. So in the beginning we were 2, and afterwards we were 3. And we made this picture, and this concept elaborated in that one and stayed the same for quite some time. So I really appreciate it when we do innovation in a disruptive way, when you do it in a small group, because when you do it in a bigger group, then it always, you go for compromises too early. And the second part in there, when you cannibalize without compromise, so meaning that you really stay with your business, with that what you thought about it with the first part. So this is something that I think that we did, and how it happened then, and this is something, and you must think about it, that was a big company. I mean, Swiss Post itself has something like 4,000 employees, or had it back then, and then we're still part of the Swiss Post, and there you are more like 40,000 employees. But still, we managed to do it, and you see the dates, and these are the real dates. So the first idea that was on the left side, that was really, and more, there wasn't more, that was the first idea of Twint. And then that we communicated and we really did the founding of Twint. There was 3 months, and people always ask, okay, how did that happen, right? And I could just tell how it happened with us. It doesn't mean that it will work with any other companies, but I think what worked for us, we had a clear idea. This was quite simple. I mean, we wanted to offer a solution where you could pay via your mobile phone, and in every situation that you can use it. So either you like the idea or not, but I think it's easy to understand. You don't need 5 minutes. You don't need 10 minutes. So this was something that helped. Then what definitely helped, we had a management team, and up to the CEO of the Swiss Post, who really helped. I still remember the important meeting. We had that for an hour, and this was something like in May. We met them for an hour, and after this hour, the people agreed. Okay, we want to do this. Yes, we understand you don't know everything about the concept. We understand that you have a real draft version of a business plan, but we like the idea. We think the market is right. We should do this. So I think this is something that was very important, and we felt this commitment by the management team through the whole process, through the whole years that we were in there, and this is something that's very important. Yes. So you got the results. Okay.
Result. And there are from 50 to 60 people following the conference.
Okay, cool.
And we got 73% of people that use Twint today.
Okay,
so
that's something that I thought about. That would be around the numbers. So basically, the 73%, 73, huh? Okay, that's 3/4. Okay, that's brilliant. And now I would just follow up with the second question, and this then leads a bit. And actually, it's always more important, or it will be more relevant what the answer will be to the second question. What was it 3 years ago? Huh? Or take it 4 years, it doesn't matter. Or no, let's take 3 years. So what we have now, so 2017, when you think back, you were already using Twint back then please vote again yes, or no, back then in 2017, I didn't use it, then please vote no. And so I'm very interested then to see the difference in the answers. Okay, thanks, Sebastian. Okay. So we move on, because actually that's the right way, because here we also have the time lapse. I don't want to walk you through this time lapse, because this in itself would take an hour, and I think it's not the interesting part. I think what is important, we all know with innovation that it happens like that, but it really does. So meaning you always have to innovate new things. And as you can see, all these points, right? These were the major points that we pivoted also. That each of them was a major decision point, meaning, okay, we move one step forward with the Twint project, or we move it in another way. And over 4 years, you see that we had 3 to 4 such kind of shifts. So I think this is something that is very important, that we always see. Yes, you have a plan, you start with a plan, but you have to adapt. You have to adapt, you have to pivot, you have to grow within that, you have to learn. You find partners that go with you, and then you move one step forward, and then you have other people that you thought, oh, hey, we'd like to have you with us, that you help us, but that they didn't follow. So you don't go that way down, but take another one. So this is really something I just really can encourage everybody who does a new business. Yes, it's good to have a plan, but we always have to adapt, and that's reality. That's nothing bad. Some things move forward much faster than you think, and others go much slower. But I think the most important thing is always that you make one step. I always said to my team, hey, it's good, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Huh? As long as we're going more forward than backwards, then we're on the right track. Huh? And this is what happened. So you see that we started in 2014, just really quickly. We grew it. For us, it was very important to having Coop on board, so one of the biggest ones in Switzerland, retailers. Then in 2016, we had the merger, so there were a Swiss merger of another payment system, that was Payment, was it called before. So we merged it, and from then on, we had all the Swiss banks behind, and so we could start to grow. In 2017, we relaunched the system, and you saw then that the numbers then started, and when I left in 2018, there were 1 million people, and I just heard from my colleagues that they now reached 3 million people joining. So really could see that the scaling started with 2017, and it really grew, and I think it will end something like when then everybody in Switzerland will use Twint. Do we have already this? No, not yet. Okay, so we take it later.
Yeah.
You have it?
It just came, yeah.
Okay.
85% of the ones who are joining us digitally were not using Twint 3 years ago. So there is a big shift between 3 years ago and now.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, yeah, that's thanks very much for the answers. This is also something I will talk about it a bit later, but I think we just saw it now. Huh? We just saw it now because when you really take the offer of Twint, that's why also I said 3 years. Huh? 3 years back, the offer in itself wasn't that much different than it is now. Huh? It's not like that 3 years back, this was a totally different application than the one that you're using now. But many people didn't use it back then, and many people do it now. Huh? So this has a lot to do with having time, taking time, with growing. And this is also something I already said also to my team a couple of times. Sometimes it just needs time. Huh? That's something to grow. But also me as being there back then, the entrepreneur, you're always impatient. You always want it to grow, and you don't understand why it doesn't. Huh? So really for those people who want to start a business, who already started it, you have to be patient because it needs time that people adopt, and you will have word of mouth. So one person uses it, and then the next one does. And this doesn't happen in a couple of months. So I think what we saw just in your answers is very typical. It's very typical for the establishment of Twint, but also very typical of any kind of innovation. How it, especially that kind of innovation, who really go to the public, who really go to all the people. Cool. Okay, now, so the first part, why it started, right? And it's always the question, and I think that is important. Why did we succeed? And this is still the starting phase. So why did we succeed in the first 2 years? Because there are many innovations die already in that part. And then the next slide, I will also show you some things that we could have done better. But starting why we succeeded, and in the middle, this is the team. This is also the first team. So the 3 of us in the first row, we were really the 3 that I talked about that started. And when we really then started the company, there were 5 people. So you all see that. And as in any innovation, and also with us, this was really, I mean, without that team, it wouldn't have worked. That's the easy thing, but that's also the hard thing, to finding the people. And as we did it, usually you just come up to the people. I think with the first 15 people that we hired, everybody was word of mouth. So, hey, I know somebody who should join us. I know somebody else. And this helped very much. So this team spirit was enormous, because you can imagine, especially when you start that kind of business, it's not, you don't have the 9 to 5 hours in the first couple of years. This is way different than that. And you only do that, you only put in that hours because you have that kind of team, because you wanna do something with the others together. This is very important. But there are some other factors I just go through really quickly. When we go from the left side, so the first, this is a newspaper article. Unfortunately, it only published in German, but I still left it there. This says nothing else, that Twint was founded out as a spin-off, as a company. And this is something that I strongly agree still today. When you do something in a big company, you have to spin it off. You have to do it in a separate entity. I frankly haven't seen many innovations, especially radical ones, who really worked within a big company. So I'm very strongly in favor of spinning it out legally, having a different part. Then for us, it was very important, I mentioned it before, having Coop as a partner, because Coop gave us visibility. And this is a big topic always, especially for B2C innovations. You must be visible, because you have so many marketing actions in Switzerland. I think an average person gets bombarded a day by 200 times marketing. So how on earth do you want to make something visible? You must be present. And Coop, for example, they have 1 million touch points a week for persons, and we were at the cashier. So 1 million people saw us every week. They most probably didn't know what Twint was back in 2015 or 16, but they saw us. They saw our logo, and this helped very much to increase. That laid the ground for the success afterwards. Then we did a lot of marketing, and these are the next two ones. So really loud marketing also. You have to make yourself bigger than you are when you're a small company. And also a bit crazy marketing. That's the one in the middle at the bottom. That's the ice rink of ice hockey in Bern. And this usually belongs to PostFinance, so they pay for it. That's usually yellow. And I still remember once before the playoffs, I think this was the playoffs of 2015, I asked the responsible, hey, why does it have to be always yellow? Put it in the green. That was the color back then of Twint. Put it green, and he did it. And this was for us a lucky shot, so we got media coverage like nothing else, and this was brilliant. This is also something that didn't cost that much, but it was just that it was done. Then the next one I'm doing is like one thing, but just stronger, and this is very much something we did a lot. We didn't do that much PowerPoint. We just did as a team, and this is very important. You have to create facts. You have to move forward, because then you also force others that they also have to move. And then the one with the color of the Nemo movie. This has to do with the culture of failure. So it's always okay when you do something new, you must adopt that kind of culture of failure, so that they really say, hey, it's good that you failed, because we failed a lot of times. I told my team, hey, perhaps we made 1,000 mistakes in this 4 years. Doesn't matter. I hope we did more than 1,000 things the right way. But you must allow this 1,000 mistakes, otherwise you will not work. You always have to learn and you make it better. Otherwise it doesn't work. And then the last one, that's a controversial one, but I'm still standing on it, especially controversial in Switzerland, because everybody here has to be perfect. But still, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. And we were always embarrassed when we launched a next version of our product. Still remember when you launched the first time, we were not sure if it would work, the system. When we went public, we were not sure if it would hold. But they always did. You sometimes also need a bit of luck. And especially you need good people who then do it, who then change it. But this is something you learn so much, you learn so fast when you hit the customer. So I'm strong advocate since then, just to really go out, hit the customer with your product, because it's not a problem when it's not perfect from day one on. Nobody expects that, and this is very important. But then what would I do differently in the startup phase? So the first one, fact or opinion. We still did. So I still think, the main concept works for Twint. It's still the same that it was back then, but still we had a lot of options in it where we just thought, hey, that's good, and that's our opinion. We think it's right, but we didn't know it. So I would today much stronger and also go into that, deliver facts, go and ask the customers when you don't know it, and it's not good enough to have opinions about new features. You must know that it's better. And the second one, that's a controversial one as well. We were quite well funded as being coming out of PostFinance, and though it helped to move forward fast, in the end, most probably it didn't help. It didn't help us to concentrate. I think we did too much on the side, and we didn't have to concentrate on things. So this was something. Today, I would say it would have been a bit better having a bit less money, because then you're strongly concentrated on doing the most important facts. Then the MVP in the middle. Also, our MVP was a bit too big. We wanted to have this option left and right, and otherwise, also here, staying to the core, what is really important, we could have done better in that one. The fourth one, core competences. In the beginning, we had IT outsourced, and IT is a core competence, most obviously, of Twint. We insourced it later, but today I would do it otherwise. I most probably would just build up with my own IT team. This would have been faster and also a bit better, I think, overall. So this is something, really stick to it, think about it, what are your core competences, and then really keep them inside from the beginning. And the last one is design. You see that's the first design that we launched. This looks totally different on the right-hand side. This looks totally different than Twint looks today. Frankly, we just overdid it. We overdid it. We wanted to have real cool design, but we lost the customer. This was just 2 steps too far. We went too far ahead. We wanted to have a new product and a new cool design, and this was just too much. So I would dare go back today and not do everything on that way. So this was the first part, and now that was the beginning, and now how we scaled. And the scaling basically started in 2016, and this was I call it here the joint Swiss way. And when we went together, I mentioned it shortly before, when we went together for Twint with the other solution, that was Payment, and that then brought together the whole banking area. And so basically what we built up then, and this is the system that it's still working like that here, Twint. You have in the middle the Twint system, and then you have on the right-hand side, we call it issuers. This doesn't matter that much. So these are just basically the apps that you would use either from UBS or your cantonal bank or from PostFinance or Raiffeisen or whatever. So meaning these are the customers. So this is you. This is you using Twint. You're on that side. And what we use there, and this is very important in here, having the so-called multipliers, we use these issuers, so meaning the banks as multipliers. And especially in a B2C, I mentioned it earlier, this is very important. That's how you can grow. That's how you can scale when having that kind of multipliers. I mean, you can imagine when a bank has a couple of million customers, when all of them tell their customers, hey, we have a new offering, Twint is a cool thing, use it. This is much more powerful than we as a small company trying to convince people that they use Twint. So that then means we come up to the clients, and these are the numbers of 2018. We were back then 1 million, and we were then at a growth rate of 2,000. Just to compare, I said before today is 3 million, and the growth rate is around 6,000 to 8,000, I think. It depends a bit. But it's still very strong. But back then also, I mean, 2,000 customers a day in a Swiss app. This was quite. I mean, with that we were in the top 10 of the Swiss add-ons. And then on the right-hand side, and this is something on the left-hand side. Sorry, these are the so-called acquirers. They bring in the other equation of the system. I mean, when we bring in the clients like you, then it's good, but that's enough for the peer-to-peer solution. So when you send money to your friends, but many people also, and this is one of the goals, many people also buy with Twint, so you buy at the merchant. And as well here in Switzerland, we have around I think 200,000 merchants, something like that. Also, as a small company, I mean, we were I think 30 people. You have no chance to onboard 200,000 customers. So we're very glad that we had this kind of acquirers, and especially the SIX group. This is the biggest in Switzerland. They have 80% of the market, so they have this network. So they brought us all the merchants in the system. So that's how it went, and the saying on the right-hand side, this is very helpful also for us. That was how it was. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So that also implies, and that rightly so, that was the case. We also from then on, from 2016, when moving all together, also it didn't move that fast. I think that's a price that you have to pay when you go together with others. Yes, you have to talk to the people, there are different interests, you have to bring them all under one hat. And this, you lose perhaps a bit of speed, but you gain the reach. And I would do it totally again the same time. So this is much more important. It was very important to being fast in the beginning, but after some time you must gain reach. You must gain reach that you have the people that you grow big also. It doesn't help when you just start fast and you don't have any customers. You must grow big. So in here, what we are, and this is just a short intro. I don't want to elaborate too much on that, but still, it's very important to know in which kind of business you're in with your innovation. Because this drives then how you move, how you do what is important in growing your business. And we as Twint, this is classical platform business model. And as you see, these are the 10 biggest corporates that are listed. And you see in 2010, there were just two. Two were platform businesses, and in 2020, there were eight platform businesses, and this is worldwide. So you see where the game is going to. So what kind of markets are there? There are two-sided markets. I said it before. Typically, you have the business side and you have the customer side. You must grow them both. This was also important for Twint. We had always, some more customers, then some businesses joined, then this led that more customers joined. So you have to make both sides big. Then it's a network thing. So we had the clients, we had the merchants, we had these acquirers, we had the issuers, the banks, and so we must all manage that. We were very much also a manager community of different interests. Network has always a question of give and take. You can't take everything. You must have room for your partners that they also can grow, that they can make business on the system. That's very important. And you have other metrics, and I'm coming to that in a couple of minutes. So here, what is really important when scaling in a platform business? And I see many, I'm now supporting some startups, and many want to go into the platform business. And it's always the same question. So this year was very strongly for Twint the question, but it applies to all startups who want to go into the platform business. So the first, and here you see basically the funnel. You see the funnel in the middle. I mean, that's quite an easy one. You see one acquisition. So first you have to get a client. Second, you have to activate it. So it's okay when you have a client, but then he must use your system. Third one, you must keep him. It's nice when he used your system once, but still, you want that he stay on. And after that, when you have a client that is activated and that you can keep, so that's a repeat customer, then the revenue starts. Then you start to earn money, because then also, and then you have this self-fulfilling or this positive loop that we see in Twint. I think that was very, very nicely shown in your answers, the referral. I think when you think back, why did you use Twint? I would almost bet that half of you came to Twint because some of your friends said, hey, that's a good application, use it. And this is the best marketing that you can get, because as a company of Twint, you don't spend 1 cent at that kind of marketing. So what was it at Twint that we did? This B2C multipliers, you see all the bank apps. There are others, so this was for us very important. Basically, we knew that all these banks, they have they have at least two times Switzerland connected. So every customer has one or two connections to one of these banks. So we knew that every Swiss customer would have been covered by our multipliers. Then you need the awareness and the visibility, and that was done very much by Coop in the beginning, I said that. So when you have both of them, then you have a real chance that you have a massive acquisition. Then the activation we did a lot with marketing automation, user journeys, and so on. So this was hard work. You start with X% people who are activated, and then you do some work, and then you're happy when 1 month later you have half a percentage point higher of activation. And this is the part that you increase. So this is very much groundwork, has very much with technology, and I mean marketing automation for those of you who visit marketing classes, right, when you're still at the university. I mean, this is, at the moment, this must be the most important marketing part. And then for the retention, you need these sticky use cases. You need these sticky use cases, and I just shown those use cases that I think are sticky with Twint. There are a couple of them. When we start from the top left, you have the loyalty card, then you have the farmers markets, then you have e-commerce, and then you have when you do charity work, then you have peer-to-peer, and you have parking and all that kind of thing. So I think there are enough use cases for some of you. Some of you will use one or two use cases, others will use others. This doesn't matter for the platform as long as you stay in the platform. I think this is very important that when you do a business, when you grow a business, that you really think hard about these 5 things, because they're always the same. I mean, obviously the one parts that I put in for Twint, they will be different with other businesses. But the main questions, acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral, they're always the same. So metrics. How did we grow? And I always said, okay, the Twint system in the beginning, it wasn't that much about finances. Yes, it was about finances as it cost quite some money, but this kind of platform business, and this is something that's very important to understand, the financials will follow the growth. So you will not earn much money in the beginning when you don't have many customers, because this is a mass financial case. So this works when you have mass on it. I mean, it's the same a bit like Facebook. When you were Facebook in the first couple of years, you didn't earn any money, but now you earn a ton of money. Even worse for Amazon. They lost money, I think, for the first 20 years, but now they're earning massive money. Why do they do that? Because they grew bigger. And these are the numbers that we tracked. So registrations, active users, that was our North Star, so that was our main number. And active users meaning who used Twint within the last 28 days. So that's a very hard active number. Some others take it for 6 months or something like that. But we said, hey, for us, everybody, we want people to use Twint at least once a month. And then you have transactions, then you have cross usage, and after that you have the financials. But I think also here it's very important that you think about what metrics are important. Because then you talk differently. When it's active users, you automatically talk about marketing and all that stuff, and you're not talking about financials in the beginning. So scaling. What is important when you scale, and this is also something that you scale the business, you go from agile to stability. This is quite some shift. It sounds logic, but still, when you're agile, you're usually not that stable. But as long as you receive customers, you must become stable. This is very important. You move from informal to processes. And in the beginning, when you're 10, 20 people, you don't have any processes. But when you grow afterwards, you need processes. Then we move, and this is the side tasks, is meaning like corporate functions. At the beginning, we didn't have a CFO, we didn't have a human resource person responsible, but when you grow, you need that kind of functions. We started very much with product and IT. This was our main in the beginning, and afterwards you move to sales and operations. So when you have your first business, you move in that area. And in the beginning, there was market launch, and then you move to the business case. That was the one I mentioned before. And this is very hard to do, because this implies a lot of changes. You change basically the whole company. You change everything in there. So what did that mean? What was our main learning? How I would do different today? This all that I mentioned before has a lot to do with changing structures and processes, and so I would have to do that earlier. You do that typically too late. You do that only when it is necessary, but it would be better when you could plan ahead of it. The same thing with the corporate functions. We just did it when it was absolutely obvious that we needed them. It would have been much better to have them earlier. And the third one, and this is how it is. That's also why I was leaving. That's also the other people that I mentioned on the first slide, or not on the first slide, like on the team slide with the photographs. All of them are not with Twint anymore, and this is typical. So this change for the team. It means that you have to change the team itself. It's not only the change that people have to adapt, but also you need different people. And I think this is not good, this is not bad, that's just how it is. You need a different team mostly when you grow a business than when you then run a business. So that leaves me coming up to the sum up, to the finishing part. So the takeaways of 4.5 years, so between 2014 and 2018. So the green ones obviously are the ones that I think we did quite well, and the red ones we could have done better. So this take it or leave it was very strongly. So we were all in. We really did that day and night. That's very important. Speed before perfection. Create realities. Very important. You must have a product that is here. Make yourself bigger than you are. This loud marketing stuff. We did that. We were much smaller than people thought we were by the numbers, but everybody was talking about Twint, and this was great. And especially here, Switzerland helps. Switzerland is quite small. You can do that. This is doable with 8 million people. Somehow you can do loud marketing. You reach quite some people. Give trust and take risks. Very important. That's a lot to do with the failure culture. This do and not doing PowerPoints. We did rarely some PowerPoints, and I think we have for 2 years the same cell presentations. It didn't really work. We just didn't have time. It was much more important to talk to the customers, to be with them. And absolutely, we learned more than ever. I think in these 4 years, I'm now working for over 20 years, I never even closely learned that much as in these 4.5 years. So what then happened differently? I think I mentioned a couple of them, but just the first one, this behavioral change, that meanings of the customers happens eventually, but it takes time. You were always too impatient. Also in business plans, you think, in 2 years that's done. It's not. This takes more time. Less is more. Not achieving, you don't have to strive for everything. There's a tomorrow. So you don't have to build in every feature within the next 3 months. It's okay to wait for a couple of months and then do it perhaps next year. And the sourcing, core competence is having them in-house. I mentioned it before, with us it was IT. The structure, doing that earlier would have been better. And also something, we were also too optimistic, as many business plans. I would also adjust plans earlier to reality. We did it overall, and it was also okay usually for the owners, but sometimes we just did it too late. So thank you very much for watching us, for watching me, and I'd like to leave you with that comment here. And I very strongly felt when I read it the first time, and for me this is something like a mantra here: if everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. So definitely I can say with 4.5 years Twint, I didn't feel that much under control, so at least I knew we were fast enough. Thanks a lot. So then I come to you, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll leave it like that?
You can leave it like that, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Thierry, for this sharing. first on your personal experience and on all those on those two more specific elements, which is the innovation in this big corporate story, and also the development of a B2C, business to customer market. The online audience has been asking some questions during the presentation.
Sure. Okay.
And I also have some things I want to come back on because I think it's really interesting. The first one was, what was your biggest challenge as a person, as the CEO of Twint, between this period of 4 years and a half that you've had?
The biggest. We had so
One
many
of the biggest,
challenges.
if you want to mention two.
No. That's okay. I think the biggest challenge was because we were getting so many changes. There were so many people interested in the area, especially after 2016. All the banks were interested in that. And I think the biggest challenge was really somehow keeping the course. So keeping the course, not having, because you have an interest here, you have somebody said, hey, you have to go that way. Another person said, you have to go that way, and left and right, and whatever. And you have to deal with so many things. But then somehow, I mean, as a CEO, it was my main part to keep the ship like in that direction that I think was right. That all the people, because there were so many people, had great people, and that they could follow, that course. And honestly, I mean, this is then something that I think now it worked out. I think it was the right way we did. But in the time when you take decisions, you don't know. I mean, you just don't know. You could go A or B, but nobody and you can't ask for advice because nobody did that before. And so I think this was the biggest challenge, and especially also to see where is the next one, Where is the next hurdle coming, Because you knew there were always some. I think this was the biggest one, to keep on course.
You were talking about the fact that you were many people, and that I think not all of them had the same the same opinion, and that you've had to take some decisions. This makes me also think about the point of changing people, because the structure changes, and you also have to change the people. Why is that? What's the benefit for the company, and how do you do that, and when do you know it's the right time to change?
I think that's one of the most important points when you are at that business, especially when you really grow out of this startup area and you grow into the scaling phase. And it just, and I mean, that's not something only to Twint. That's many other companies do that. But we really live that. So you feel, and also by myself, right? I'm more the business development person. I'd like to develop new things. I'd like to build up something. And I also saw for myself, hey, with the time you feel it by yourself, right? Hey, it's less about business development. It's more about operations. You knew that it's right. I knew that it was right. But somehow then it comes the feeling, okay, so perhaps I'm not the right person anymore for that company, right? And this is not something that comes on Monday morning. This is not that happens. This is just you grew it, and for me this was an experience, yes. But I think as most of the time, it's more a relief when you know that it's like that, and then you say it like that. And I think it's also for many other persons. I mean, you just. Typically, when you grow a business, you have different persons at the beginning. You have people who want to create something new. And these are then typically those people that perhaps are not the best at following strict processes, that then don't understand why it needs a couple of weeks to take a decision. Then we could take it in 5 minutes. And so, I mean, it has a lot to do with natural selection as well. I mean, we didn't. Just that you don't understand it wrongly, right? There were almost none of the persons, we had to actively say, hey, we think you are the wrong person anymore. And it's not wrong or right, it's just like the phase is over, so I think it's somebody else needs to do because the task changes. So that most of the people, they just thought, I mean, all the persons that I mentioned, everybody of them said, hey, I want to change myself. This was more like that. But I think, I mean, as always, I think this is something I learned from other things. I think when it would have been orchestrated, like in a more, it could have been done a bit better, but that's always as it is.
Thank you. Talking also about the fact that you never know if it's the right decision, that you have you have to take some decisions maybe in 2 weeks. There is also a question about this culture of failure that you've been mentioning. At which point, and after falling many times, do you know it's the time to leave? How do you accept the failure, and how do you rebound on that?
Yeah, that's a very important point. I think it doesn't. I mean, it's just like when you do innovation, they're always. I mean, the failure is a good question. So I think more it's about the culture of failure. You do many decisions, and some go right, some go wrong. You think about something. I want to do something. Either you succeed or you fail. This is a natural part of innovation. This is not good, not bad. And I think this is very important. And we never charged somebody who said, hey, that was wrong that you did. Because when you do that, people listen very carefully. When you do that once, then they won't try. The next time they will say, oh, I don't want to be in that situation again. This doesn't happen, so I don't try. And when you stop trying, then you stop innovating. This is the death of anything new. So I think it's very, and we did that, I think, in an open way. We said, hey, listen, we tried that. We always strived for fast results. That's the question. I mean, it's stupid when you go on a path that you know that it's wrong, and you go on for that path for too long. Then it's not good, because then you invest in wrong places. But when you try something out, try it, either you succeed, then you move on, or you fail, you stop. Okay, why did we fail? What did we learn? We incorporate it and go on. So I think we just have to take this, that failure is something bad, we just take it out. No, it's not. It belongs to the innovation part. And this is the important thing. And I think we really had that. And I mean, everybody was ready to take risks and to do that.
So it's more about the mindset and to know that it's part of being an entrepreneur, of a development of a project, that you know you're not going to go straight away and do everything right from the first time.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just everything. Yeah.
And so this also makes me think of the MVP that you mentioned, the minimum valuable product, and there is a question related to that. Which is, do you advise to confront your product customers as soon as possible? How do you do that? Or do you think it's important to work on it for a long period of time, knowing that your development is based on your opinion? It's more about the fact of testing fast the product and having quick answers to adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is key. This is key, and this is also something I think we did at some part, but we did it not enough. In the beginning, we did it not enough. And absolutely. I think what is very important, and there are small line, I think it's not that a problem. Yes, test as early as possible with customers. And don't be afraid of the feedback. I mean, what's the worst thing they can say? Hey, we don't need that. That's the worst thing that you can get. Nobody... And most probably they will say, hey, perhaps I don't like that, but you might go in another way. This is something. It's more like, and there's a fine line, you should have an idea what you want to test with the customer. What it usually does, I mean, it wouldn't have worked when we went out to the customer and say, hey, we have a mobile, and do you want to pay with your mobile phone? This is not enough. This is not testing. Because then you most probably get the answers, no, why should I? I mean, I have enough. I mean, this is This is the old saying of Henry Ford, what do you want, right? When you ask people, and back then in the year 1900, they would have told them a faster horse and not a car, right? So you must have the first version of your car, but it can be a prototype. Huh? It can even be, I mean, sometimes you also went out with just mock-ups. Huh? The system didn't work. You just could push 3 buttons. And we tell them, hey, would you like to push these 3 buttons, and then happens this and this and this afterwards? Huh? This gives you a reasonable answer, huh? But you must be on that level at least. Huh? You must be on that you have an idea of your solution.
Yeah, so it's an idea of having the solution to a problem you think your customer will have.
Absolutely.
And you test if it's like that.
Yeah, I mean that's something that was also back then. In 2014, it wasn't that obvious, but today, I mean, all this problem market, problem solution, whatever. I mean, that's the right way to do. That's the right way.
Thanks. And so when you develop this MVP, so we've been talking mainly on this business to customer market, but you've also mentioned that it's a two-way development, also from the B2B part, business to business. How do you deal with those two development parts? Where is there a first step to take before in one of the markets? I think it's very interesting because yeah.
Yes, it's very interesting, but unfortunately, I think there is no answer. Just you can do it, right? I mean, I think it's harder. Huh? Let's say it's harder to get the B2C part, huh? Because you have 8 to 9 million people, and this is just, you have 8 to 9 million individual people, and you can't reach them just at the same place, right? When you have businesses, you don't have that many big businesses in Switzerland. Huh? I mean, for us, basically, we were a merchant, so we wanted to go into the merchant ones. We have basically 2 big groups in Switzerland. Huh? That's the Coop group and the Migros group. Huh? Unfortunately for us, the Coop group, they just jumped on the ship in second one. Huh? And so, I mean, there also the effort time-wise wasn't that big. Huh? It was lucky that they did, and we had a great relationship for all that years. But still, in the end, it was much easier than convincing 8 million people joining the system. So I think also when I advise today startups, when they have a B2C element in there, I very strongly look at that element, how they can develop that one. Because the other one, yes, it's hard as well, but it's easier to manage. You can do that with less people. And but yeah, I mean, in the end, I think we just did it classically on, okay, we first had some merchants like Coop and others, they were joining really early. With that, we had an offer, we could go to the customers. So there were a couple of customers joining, and then we had a customer base which was enough interesting for some additional merchants. Huh? But it's not like, okay, first here and then that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, because when you propose something to the customers, they want to know to which business they can use the solution, and the business want to know who is already using your solution. So
absolutely,
it's always a difficult part.
Yeah. Perhaps one thing that is very important, very interesting here. I mean, Twint overall, you can use it for peer-to-peer, like for between us. Huh? You can use it in e-commerce, and you can use it at fixed stations, at point of sales or at machines. Huh? The interesting part is the percentage of transactions. Huh? This was for the last 4 years. It's always the same. Huh? So it's not like that, okay, everything was only e-commerce, then peer-to-peer come, or peer-to-peer came and the others grow. It was always the percentage that you take. It's almost by 1 or 2 percentage points the same. Huh? So that means, okay, we can't, there's not the magic bullet. Huh? It just grows, the whole system grows. Huh?
Talking about those different ways of payment, there was a question regarding that. Today, a company can receive payments from its customer via Twint. Everyone knows that. However, it's not possible for a company to pay customers via Twint or their employees. Is it something Twint is planning, or has it been thought?
If it's planned, you have to ask the new crew. I don't know. I mean, yes, there were projects in that area. We already had, back then, I think we had pilots in 2015, not big ones. We had that, yes, but then also due to, I mean, in the end, it was always a question of priorities, which things to make first. And so back then it was decided that it was more like the other parts were more important. But yeah, I mean, from a technical point of view, it's possible. It's not, I mean, you can send money in one way, you can send money the other way as well. It's just like, but it's, if it's, I don't know. I don't know if it's on the roadmap.
Maybe more a question on your personal background. Before you've been involved in Twint, there is someone who is interested to know what is your personal experience before that has been preparing you the most to take this challenge. When did you have this desire of developing Twint or this entrepreneurial mindset?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I didn't think about that very strongly until now. No, basically, just to my background, I was very much in big companies. So I have a banking background, and I was also before we started Twint, I was for 10 years at Post Finance working there. So for me, it was, I mean, for me, it was the first time that I developed that kind of startup. So it's not that I did 5 startups before, and this is the 6th one, but this was the first one. So basically nothing really prepared me for that. Perhaps it was also good. I'm not sure if I would have started it, if I would have known what everything happens. I think everybody says that. But I think it's more what really, I mean, I was always very curious about creating new things, about creating strategy. And I was always responsible for strategy, but just to a point without implementing it. And here, and I think this gave me the kick, I knew from a conceptual point of view that actually this should work. Because that was my experience that I had was 10 years. Okay, I think this concept, how it was, I really liked it. And I thought this would work. And now for me, and also for my colleagues, the big step was, okay, we want to do that. We don't want to hand that project to somebody else who does it then, either good or bad, but it's out of your hand. We said we want to do that. And this was for everybody, it was just a new experience. But it was great. I mean, as I said, I learned so much in that 4 years as I never learned before. But basically, if people would have told me back then, if I would have been the most prepared person to do that, most probably not. No.
And it's funny because from a customer point of view, we think that all the banks adopted Twint very easily and that it's been implemented everywhere very quickly. But was it difficult to convince those banks, or you had to adapt this MVP many times to have a final proposition that is great for everyone?
And it wasn't a problem to convince banks to join, because everybody had to say, I mean, we started it out of Post Finance, and also, as I said, there was a rival product in the beginning, and this was more UBS and Six Group. And so everybody knew in the market something should happen in that area. So it was not like, okay, what kind of product is it here? We don't need that product. So everybody thought, okay, we need that product. Especially for the smaller banks, it was quite clear from the beginning there was no way that they could do that by themselves. Just too expensive to build that kind of a big system. And we knew then quite fast, now from 2016 on, okay, it would make sense to have one system in Switzerland. I mean, in the end, Switzerland is small. I mean, if we would have been in the US with 250 or 300 million customers, then we would say, okay, no problem, 5 to 10 systems. But Switzerland, 8 million, hey, one system is enough. And so, no, it was not a problem to convince. I mean, what was more the discussion, and that's what I said, when we were then all together from 2016 on, it came more the discussion on the features. Okay, now one bank said, hey, this feature now is most important, and the other banks, no, you should go for this one. This was then more that kind of discussion, but not the overall making sense of Twint. That was clear for almost everybody that this makes sense.
maybe one last question, because it's already 2 p.m.
Sure.
What would be your biggest advice to the online audience that is hearing us today and watching us? Maybe, yeah, whatever. What would be your biggest advice?
So really, I mean, when you think about starting a business, do it. Do it. It's a cool experience, and especially here when we are in Switzerland. I mean, somebody once said, and I remember that back then, and I said that to my people a couple of times. Nobody dies of hunger in Switzerland. So meaning, okay, even if you fail your business, you have a net here that you're coming back down. So I think this is very important because, I mean, frankly, also for the future of the country, we need new businesses. So I really just can encourage to create that kind of businesses, and it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun.
Nice. Thank you very much, Thierry, for this talk. I think it was very, very interesting to have your insights on your presentation and also your answer to the questions from the public. And also our discussion was, I think, very, very interesting. And I hope that you liked it. Please tell us how you felt about the conference. We have posted something in our Instagram story. That you can find. So please give us some feedbacks. We're very interested to know how you felt. And before your leave, I just want to mention one last project that Innovation Time is co-organizing. It's going to be starting tomorrow from 9 p.m. to Thursday 8 p.m. So it's 3 days event. The name is eSpace. I think maybe you have heard of it. The first day we're going to be talking about how can society adapt to disrupted industries. The second day on Wednesday we're going to be talking about how can society benefit from the evolution of work. And the third day is going to be more focused on the entrepreneurial part, which is how can we become the entrepreneur, the change maker of tomorrow. So you can also check that on Instagram, on the Global Entrepreneurship Program. It's going to be live. See you there, and thank you very much for your presence. We very appreciate, and see you soon.